So let's dive right into it. Talk about Nativeland 1. Nativeland 1 came out in February of 2014. I believe you were 26 years old at the time.
Yeah.
What do you remember? What do you remember about that time in your life?
Like I said earlier, just like coming straight off of like my first like major injury, I tweaked my knee really bad, and I actually, shoot, you know what? I'd gotten surgery in March of 2013, and then I was back on my bike in, I think, July. So we started filming for it in July, August, and my knee still was kind of funky, like it didn't feel good, and I ended up having to get another surgery in the end of December that same year to clean it all out. But that only took me out for like 2 weeks. So it was like I was basically filming up to that point, got the knee surgery, got the clean out, and then started filming again 2 weeks later. So I just remember I felt so fired up and recharged after the injury, because it made me realize how much I love BMX and how much I love putting my heart and soul into these projects, and just really solidified that for me. It's like I care so much about this that I just want to put everything I have into it. So I just remember being super fired up and ready to keep swinging.
I like that Nativeland 1 starts in Huntington Beach, which is obviously your local area, and it kind of seems like the series evolves into showing more other parts of California as it moves forward. Was that kind of a conscious decision to want to get Huntington Beach in there, or is that just kind of how it worked out, because you obviously said it wasn't going to be a series to begin with?
Oh, it's so funny that you brought that up. I never thought about it that way. Like, the opening shot literally is the beach and the pier and everything, and even though I didn't, I never expected this to be any sort of like series or anything. It was like I wanted to shine light on where it all started for me, I guess. Even if it was just for that one part, it was like, dude, I've been riding by the pier for as long as I've been on a bike. And, still, I think the other thing that's cool about it is like, it doesn't matter where you ride and how much you ride something, you could still come up with new things there. So like I'd never 360'd over that rail, and I was like, dude, let's start the line here. And it just like you said, it's funny that it turned into like, now it's like a lot of the tricks are, a couple hours away from home, coming into the fourth Nativeland. So it's kind of funny. That's I never thought about that. It's cool.
One thing in the Nativeland series, a lot of the music is kind of obscure. I just mean in the sense of it's not very known bands, but this video uses a Rolling Stones song. Is that something that was was that weird at the time to use such a major artist, or is it just kind of a different time in BMX before the internet was policed and everything was crazy with music?
Great question. I think like I've kind of always loved the Rolling Stones, and I never had the opportunity to like ride to one of their songs. So, that song just like really, I remember during my my recovery from my injury, I was listening to that song a lot, and it was just like it brought me happiness and joy, and I was just like, if I ever have the opportunity to use this song, I'm going to use it. So so that's kind of where it came from. And then later on, coming into the second Nativeland, you started getting like, videos, your videos were flagged if you used bands that you didn't clear. So we had to be a little bit more professional about it from there. But since then we've kind of gone off the path again too, into a world of uncleared music. So
a couple standout clips from Nativeland 1 that you had mentioned to me. The first one stood out to me as well when I was watching it. And that's because I don't think of you as much of a crank arm guy, but you do a nollie to crank arm grind in this. And you mentioned that stood out to you as well. What about that clip is special to you?
So by then I had done like a couple different nollie tricks on real rails. I think I had done like a nollie ice and a nollie crook. But nollie grinds on real rails were still like relatively untapped for me. Like I wasn't really doing it all the time. And I'd never seen anybody do a nollie crank arm. And I was like, dude, that would probably look so cool, because you push off the front and then you got to get sideways before you get on the rail. And I just had it in my head, and I don't know, like you said, I I'm really not good at crank arm grinds. Even to this day, I try them so much and I just don't get better at them. But I figured, I'm like, dude, this rail's short enough. Like I could at least jump at it and see what happens. You know, I'm going to hit something. And, it ended up working out. And that was like right at the end of filming for that project. So it was like, I think that might've been one of the last things we filmed. Cause, I remember I got one other trick that same day in that part. I did the 180 ice on the rail against the wall. And yeah, it was like, I don't know. I think I was really motivated too, because it was like towards the end of that project and I was really stoked on what we had. And I was like, just want to get a couple more things, you know? And nollie crank arm, I don't know, just jumped in my mind. I was like, I got to try it. So yeah.
You know, throwing it back to that video coming out in 2014, it's hard for me to actually put my finger on it, but I'm willing to bet I had not seen a nollie crank arm grind on a real street rail in 2014. That was probably the first one.
I can't say if it was the first one or not, but like, I guess the way I could describe it is I had never seen it done before. Like, I don't even know if I'd really even seen it on like a skate park rail or anything like at that time. I could be wrong, and I'm not claiming to be the first to do it, but I do know for a fact that I'd never seen anybody do it yet prior to that day. So
right after that clip, it goes into a clip of a 4-stair with a short rail lit up at night, which is kind of rare for Nativeland. Nativeland's primarily daytime footage. So it's kind of rare to see a lit up night clip in there. And you do a 180 over tooth to 180, essentially a 360 over with the old front peg banger in there. What makes this clip stand out to you?
That was another trick that I'd never seen. I think I'd done it on like a skate park rail, like a bank with an up rail. And I did like the very end of it. And I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to do that on a real rail. And this was like probably not even a year after Garrett's Ender in the Deadline video. He did the 360 tooth, but he did it on the inside, not the outside. I was like, oh, I'd be so sick to do it on the outside, you know, like, and it's funny that you brought up, I'm pretty sure that's the only trick in all of the videos that was actually lit up with a generator. I think everything else was during the day other than that trick. And, I remember that night clear as day, no pun intended. But Timmy Theus was in town and he was filming some stuff, and me and Vish and him were just out, and I was like, I'd driven by that rail, and it's small. Like I don't need to sugarcoat. It's a small rail, but it made sense for that trick because I didn't know how long you can grind backwards and still spin out. I figured it needed to be quick. So it's like, let's just try it there. And it's in a Starbucks parking lot. So it's always packed. There's always cars right there. So I'm like, we got to wait till pretty late to light it up. And we ended up lighting it up, and it ended up working out. And, yeah, I had to body slam the concrete pretty hard a few times to get it though. Cause like I said, I didn't really know how to go about it, cause I'd only done it on like up stuff out of banks. I'd never done it down anything. So it was weird to figure out. And even the one I rolled away from, I was like still surprised. Like I almost wanted to like take my foot off or something. Like I wasn't ready to land it. So yeah, I don't know. And that was kind of, you know, again, after getting hurt and then like coming back from an injury and like doing tricks that you'd never done before, it's just like, it feels so good, you know? So that really stands out to me.
It is a short rail, but you slid a good amount of it for that being the only one you've ever done. It actually turned out really good.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think I've only done a couple since then. In Nativeland 2, there's another one, but I haven't done one since then. I need to bring it back.